I have been talking way too much about this and how it's tedious, lengthy, not account-wide, and in short, a royal pain in the ass. But is it though? In this video, I'll be giving you a simple step-by-step guide on how to get the Improving on History achievement through the Balance of Power questline in the Broken Isles, which will unlock a list of very neat Legion artifact appearances. I would have loved to have been able to do this questline in its entirety before making this guide. To myself, no potential finer details that could be useful, but due to several time gates, which will become evident throughout this video, I couldn't. I will be returning to this guide should I come across major details that could be helpful in completing the questline, to help you guys further. As a side note, I have also started to set up a stream here on YouTube, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Once I personally embarked on this questline in the making of this video, I realized that the quests are not particularly difficult. There's no complicated solutions, puzzles, or vague descriptions. The quests will put markers all over your map on where to go, and the items you gather are relatively common and should take no time at all to gather, if you're a current level 60 character. Having a bit of good gear, perhaps above eye level 150, does help immensely though. The questline does have less than 20 steps and is locked behind a few rep grinds, but really, it could be worse. Also, before starting, do note that to complete the questline, you have to, either from the beginning or along the way, become honored with the Court of Ferrandis and revered with both the Nightfallen and the Valishar. Getting stuck along the way because you need extra rep would really suck. You begin the Balance of Power questline by talking to Image of Kellic, who will appear in your class hall to give you the quest, The Power Within. The objective is pretty simple. To meet Kellic in Assuring Repose in Azsuna after completing the Defending Assuring Repose questline, which is only a part of the entire questline in Azsuna. Don't be afraid to complete a couple of side quests along the way if you don't have much reputation with the Court of Ferrandis, as you will need at least honored for the next step in the Balance of Power questline. Second step is picking up the Heart of Sinajari quest from Senegos in Assuring Repose. For this quest, you retrieve the Heart of Sinajari and defeat the Wrath of Ashara in the Eye of Ashara dungeon on Mythic difficulty. The heart can be found right next to the Wrath of Ashara inside the dungeon. After bringing the Heart of Sinajari back to Senegos, you're told to do 3 things, 2 from Senegos, 1 from Archmage Kellic. Buy the Vainglorious Draught from Veritas Felon in the Crumbled Palace in Azsuna here, for the Vainglorious Past quest. You can only buy this if you're honored with the Court of Ferrandis. Loot the Corrupted Essence from Oakheart and defeat Shade of Saviors in Darkheart Thicket dungeon on Mythic difficulty for the Fallen Power quest. And the third quest, Tempering Darkness, asks you to obtain 30 Blood of Sargeras. If you don't already have this on hand, I suggest running some easy dungeons and using your class hall mission table to quickly gather some. It should not take too long, since mobs are easily killable with a max level character in Shadowlands. I did it over a couple of days, but only because I didn't have time to run through 10 plus dungeons. If you do run these, the final boss in Mythics will give you 3 Blood of Sargeras, heroic final bosses will give you 2, and normal final bosses will give you 1. At step 4, you return to Kellic and Senegos in Assuring Repose with the Draught, the Essence and the Blood of Sargeras. Afterwards, they'll ask you to absorb the Corrupted Essence using the Heart of Sinajari and your artifact weapon. Please note here that you don't actually need to have your artifact weapon equipped. Step 5 sends you on 2 quests in the Emerald Nightmare raid on normal difficulty or higher. Archmage Kellic will give you the quest in Nightmares, in which he asks you to obtain the Deathglare Iris from Ilganoth and the Horn of the Nightmare Lord from Saviors. And Senegos will give you the Essence of Power quest, which asks you to collect 30 Corrupted Essences, which drops from the bosses inside the Emerald Nightmare. Awfully enough, you're only able to loot these once a week, and it's not 100% drop from the bosses. However, it is very close to 100 in my experience. But if you, like me, didn't obtain all the 30 in one go, you unfortunately have to wait a week to run the dungeon again. regardless of difficulty. After returning from the Emerald Nightmare and returning the items, Senegos will again ask you to absorb the corrupted essences using the Heart of Sinajari. At step 7, with the quest Repaid Debt, the questline sends you to Shadowlands in Suramar to meet up with Archmage Kellic, and from here there will be several quests in the Suramar zone. The requirement for this quest is that you have completed the storylines Nightfall and Moonguard Stronghold in Suramar. I hadn't even started my Suramar questline when I started the Balance of Power questline, so I had some grinding to do. After meeting Kellic, you pick up the next quest, Lost Knowledge, from Thorvenna's River Tree, who asks you to buy a scroll of Illindris from First Arcanist Thalithra. It costs 120 gold, and to buy it you must be revered with the Nightfallen. At the 9th step of the questline, you'll be sent on 3 tasks after handing over the scroll of Illindris to Thorvennas. Borrowing without asking requires you to complete Vault of the Wardens on Mythic difficulty, and afterwards find and grab Containment Crystal from within the dungeon. Thorvenna's River Tree will give you this task. Surana's Starweaver will send you on the quest Right of the Captain to loot Advisor Vandros' Aeon Winder from the Archway dungeon on Mythic difficulty. You loot it from the boss himself. And for the quest Literary Perfection, which Lothrius Mooncaller sends you on, you're asked to find Lothrius' first edition copy of Warts, Sigils and the Nightborn Way inside the Court of Stars dungeon on Mythic difficulty. You only need to kill the first boss in this dungeon to go and fetch the book. After handing in the 3 required items, Surana's Starweaver will give you the quest Twisted Power, in which you are to use the Greater Portal Stone to summon Vysul the Twisted at the Altar of Endtimes in Faranar. Kill Vysul and loot his bindings, which you then bring back to Surana. Afterwards, a true test asks you to absorb the power of the bindings, again with the Heart of Sinajari. At step 12, you begin the Stormheim part of the Balance of Power questline. Seeking the Valkyria asks you to seek out Ashildr at the Vault of Aegir in Stormheim. The quest, The Mock, is then picked up from Ashildr. There's 2 requirements to complete this quest, in which you have to prove yourself worthy to the Valishar. You must be revered with the Valishar. Then you must obtain the Mark of the Valkyria by /kneel in the mark in front of Aegir in the Vault of Aegir. It's been reported that there's 2 Aegirs standing very close to each other here, so if it doesn't work the first time, try targeting the other copy of her before you /kneel. After obtaining the Mark of the Valkyria and turning it into Ashildr, she will give you the quest Retrieving the Sworn God, in which you have to defeat Helya and retrieve the Sworn God in the Maw of Souls dungeon on Mythic difficulty. The shield can be found after the first boss in the room with the Grimwalker. Make sure to grab this before defeating Helya, as you cannot go back. At step 15, you turn the previous quest in at Ashildr, who then sends you on 2 new objectives. A feast for Odin requires you to gather some meats to present to Odin to earn his blessing. You need to gather 3 things: a Thunderhorn flank, which drops from Thunderhorn in Stormheim, a Spinesever's spine, which drops from Spinesever in High Mountain, and a Leytusk stake, which drops from Leytusk in Azsuna. Presentation is key is the second quest Ashildr gives you, in which you have to go to Neltharion's lair in Mythic difficulty to defeat Dargrul the Underking and gather 4 adamantium casing scraps. These scraps can be gathered from the floor surrounding Dargrul after you defeat him. Handing the items required for Odin's feasts into Ashildr will give you the quest Odin's Blessing. For this quest, you must enter Halls of Valor on Mythic difficulty. Here, just after entering, put down the Grand Feast of Valhalla's, which Ashildr should have given you. After that, you can go through the dungeon, and after defeating Odin and letting him finish his speech, you can pick up his blessing in the loot chest. You are now finished in Stormheim, and for step 17, you return to Archmage Kellic in Shadowlands. He will have 2 quests for you. Thorvenna's River Tree will have 1. Pick up Into the Nighthold from Kellic, who instructs you to collect 20 night shards from the Nighthold raid on normal difficulty or higher. The night shards drop from the bosses in the raid, and just like the corrupted essences from the Emerald Nightmare, you can only loot the bosses for the item once per week. Each boss can drop 1 to 5 of the night shards, and the difficulty of the dungeon doesn't appear to affect this drop rate. So it is all about getting lucky, or you'll have to return the next week. Calig will also give you the quest The Nighthold Darkness Calls, which requires you to kill Gul'dan on normal difficulty or higher and loot one of his eyes to bring to Archmage Calig. Thulrenna's River Tree will give you the quest The Nighthold Delusions of Grandeur, and ask you to collect the core of Thrilliax and Grand Magistrix Illisan's Millennia Tome. Both you can do on normal difficulty or higher. These 3 quests are probably the hardest, but also signal the end of the Balance of Power questline. Finally, at the last step, you turn in your 3 quests from the Nighthold in Shalaran and get the Balance of Power quest. All you have to do then is to absorb the combined power of the Night Shards and the Eye of Gul'dan using the Heart of Sinashari at the Lunar Crucible, here. With that, you're given the achievement Improving on History, and thus your new artifact appearance as well. Congratulations!